I'm Vona Thurman. I belong to Marble Springs Baptist Church. I've been here for many, many years. I'm getting to be quite old at 90 years old, but I want to tell you about what my life was like before I became a Christian. I became a Christian when I was 24 years old, and what it's been like since I've been a Christian. So, to explain some of this, I want to tell you that when my father, he was a Methodist, but he was a pastor in Florida. He also was a missionary and went to Brazil, stayed there for quite a while, came back, and when he came back, he divorced his wife and married my mother. And so they moved out of there and eventually came up to Atlanta. And so when I was in the 6th grade, I had some really good friends, but they all went to church. Well, when I told my dad I wanted to go to church every Sunday, he said, "No, don't you know you only go on Easter and Christmas? That's the only time your mom is going to take you to church." So that goes on and on and on, and so I never get to go. I got up to high school, finally got through with that, got out and started working. Met a friend of my brother's that they'd both been in the war. My friend that was a friend with our family was a paratrooper, one of the Screaming Eagles, that they jumped behind the lines when they first went to Germany. And but he escaped without any harm to him. And so he got to where he was taking me to work, and so he kept on asking me to marry him. Now, he was almost 10 years older than I was. So I kept on saying, "No, I don't want to marry you. I'm too young to marry." So, but he kept on and on until I finally said yes. And so I was almost 18, but not quite. I wasn't quite 18. But anyway, after a while, after we'd been together for a year or two, we started having children. Okay, every year we had a child, every year. And it wasn't at the same year. Sometimes there was several months difference in them. But anyway, now I had 4 kids to look after. So I kind of had forgot about becoming a Christian. And I'm not sure that I understood that even in my earlier days. I just wanted to be with my friends. So, and my husband was doing papers that he delivered on Sunday. So when I started saying I wanted to take my children to church, he said, "I can't take you to church because I'm working." So he always took one of the boys with him to help him. And so eventually I made a friend that said that, "Well, I will stop and take y'all to church." And so she did. And so we became very good friends with each other. And we still are, as a matter of fact. But anyway, so I went to Sunday school, took my kids, went to ones they needed to go to. And so I had a teacher, Sunday school teacher, that told me, she said, I told her, why I was bringing my kids to church, because my dad wouldn't let me go to church. So she said, "Yeah, but don't you know that you need to be saved too?" I said, "Well, I'm sure I do." And so one of these days I did, because a preacher was preaching, and all of a sudden my feet just got me up and took me to the front of the church, and I said, "I want to be saved. I want to be baptized. I want to become a Christian." So okay, so that went on for quite some time. Then 4 of my boys all got baptized. But I will have to say that they didn't stick with them. They were too young, really. So anyway, after that, I never did drive until I was 70 years old, so see, I couldn't drive myself. So anyway, so we stuck with that. And at one time I was a school teacher here with the older women. And then when my husband got so sick that I couldn't come to church anymore, Hoyt told me to go to Betsy and be in her class, which I did. Okay, so we started, in that day and time, we could all pick out what we wanted to do as far as our Sunday school lesson. So we got Henry Blackaby, and we started going through that. And all of the things that we learned doing that, it certainly did this for me and for Betsy. It changed our life completely. Because although I had been in church for a long time, I still didn't feel that wonderful feeling of him with me. And but after that, I did. And so he just worked wonders with that. And so I've stayed with Betsy for many, many years. We've gone out and done things together in the community, trying to invite people to church and do things like that together. And then after my husband died, I started seeing people that were sick or in the hospital, in the nursing homes or wherever. I would visit them a lot. And so all of this changed my life completely because, as you already know, an angel saved me from dying when the tree fell on our house. And it was just almost less than an inch from where that tree hit me. So, yes, and so I feel God with me all the time, all the time. I feel like I have an angel that follows me around to make sure that I'm okay. So. I have a lot of prayer things that I pray for him and with him before I start going around to people that I love and want to change their lives or to keep them well or whatever. Missionaries that are overseas that I pray for. I pray for so many people till it takes me a long time. But also, of course, I go to my Bible and read my Bible and some other books that I like to read from God, if they're not from God, but they're with God. So, yeah, it takes me quite a while to really get through. And then at night when I go to bed, I start reading. I don't read them, I have them in my mind. For the 10th Psalm, for instance, I just pray that. And then I start praying for people that overseas that are still fighting in the war to keep them safe and well. I pray for those who are working in, among the Batanga, and to keep them safe and well because they're overseas, and you know they could easily all get sick. So I pray for all of them to not be sick. And I pray for friends and family, and I just keep praying. As I close up with this, I want you to know that if you haven't ever been saved, you do not know what you're missing, because when you get God into your life is so much different. It's entirely different from the life you've been living.